Today on This Week in iPad, we'll be chatting with Brett and Eileen Rounsaville, creators of the Rounsaville iPad case. I'll be reviewing the hot new game Rocketeer HD. And what do you get when you mix light painting, stop-motion animation, and the iPad, besides an awesome concept for a new Tim Burton movie? We'll find out. It's all coming up right now on This Week in iPad. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting edition of This Week in iPad. I'm your host, Lon Harris. Joining me for welcome back to my co-host, Jacob Birch, gone last week.
In exotic Portland.
Ably replaced by Lauren Feldman while you were gallivanting around exotic Portland. Lovely to have you back. Also, we have some guests with us in studio. It's a rare treat for us here at This Week in iPad. Brett and Eileen Rounsaville, a mother-son team, and the creators of the Rounsaville iPad case.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here today with the Jolly Green Giant and Lonzilla.
Yes.
I feel like a munchkin back here.
Yes, you were working on that while we were getting ready to shoot. You don't fool me. Well, welcome. Thanks for being here. We'll have you hang out for the show. Feel free to jump in. I know people always say, like, I have these guests come on, and then
all you do is blah,
and
blah,
then I
blah.
dominate the conversation. That's what everybody says. So feel free to cut me off, jump in. Before we jump in any further, I do want to let everyone know in the studio, or who's watching, or who's downloading this later, we need a new blogger here on This Week in iPad. We had Matthew Paulson. He was our blogger. Did a great job. iPadweek.ly was his site, and he was sort of cross-posting to there as well. He can't do it anymore, time constraints. We still thank him for everything he did for the show. But if you would like to be our official blogger, link to us from your blog or whatever, write posts and help us out, do cross-promotion. We'll talk about you here on the show. Let us know if you'd like to come on board. We'd love to have you. So Lon at This Weekend is how to get in touch if you'd be interested in a gig, and we'll throw you a couple bones. We won't be selfish about it. Okay, so before we go any further, I do want to talk a little bit about one of my favorite sponsors, if not my overall favorite sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about Press Reader. We talk about Press Reader all the time. Do you guys have you ever used Press Reader?
I haven't. Enlighten me, Lon.
Do you? Thank you. Do you? You looking for a co-host gig? Because this one. If you read newspapers on your iPad, it's great. It's a great reading device, the iPad overall. But there's always this problem of it's like one individual newspaper, and you have to download a separate app if you want a different newspaper, and you got to pay, and it's imperfect. And I know we'll actually talk about on the news later. Apple's sort of working. They know behind the scenes that people want to be able to subscribe to newspapers, and they're still trying to figure it out. Well, while they're busy doing that and trying to figure it out, an app already figured it out. Of course, we're talking about Press Reader. For $30 a month, you get unlimited downloads of any paper you want. They have over 1,600 newspapers from 90 countries around the world. And you can see, if you just take a look here, here's all the different countries. I mean, any country you can think of. Countries you wouldn't think would have a single newspaper, and they've got 90-some newspapers from that country. I mean, it's really kind of amazing. We'll take a look at the USA. I mean, any big paper that you're looking for from pretty much anywhere around this nation, you can find. There's the New York Post, the LA Times, the New York Daily News, and you can subscribe to it. So if you get the $30 plan, it's going to download every day as soon as you open the app, and then you can just go read your paper. I'm going to look at my library. I have an old LA Times I downloaded here already so we can take a look. You get big full color photos, you get the full story. You don't feel like you're getting this digitally condensed version of the paper. You feel like you're getting the whole full paper. It's just like you're reading it.
You're not really getting the best of. We've come in, the New York Times app is really the best. Here the dozen or stories.
Editor's choice. Because we want them to decide what we want to read. The whole point of a newspaper is you get to read whatever you want. It's easy to use. You can zoom in, and I even you get the ads, so it really feels like a whole full snapshot of the daily paper.
And you get all the funnies, so you can get Garfield.
You get the cartoon
when
you need it.
Sold.
Yeah. Thank you. Exactly. You
Open up with the lead.
You can zoom in and out, so you can, it's just like any other sort of useful iPad app in that way. Anyway, Press Reader at Press Display is them on Twitter. Go give them a thanks. Check out the app. I don't think you'll be disappointed.
Not at all.
And we thank them very much for supporting the show and Help them out, guys. Do us a favor. So now I did want to take a look. There is a hot new game that's blowing up in the App Store, and they actually sent me a code to check it out for free.
Oh,
so I'm gonna review it right now. It's only $1 though. That's the great thing about this game. It's only $1 even if you download it. It's called Rocketeer HD. I thought when I heard that title, I was like,
excited.
is this based on the classic Walt Disney live-action Rocketeer film? What a great idea. Of course it's not. It is still a great game, but it is not actually based on it. It is a completely original character who happens to be named the Rocketeer. So we won't hold that against them. Basically, the idea here, it's like a physics game, a little bit like Osmos, which we talked about before. You start here, you're this spaceship, you're trying to get here to this warp, and basically you have to set a path that will take you around all of these planets, but that uses their sort of gravitational pull. So I'm going to aim for here, and then we'll fire my guy, and he'll loop around. Oh, but I missed. So obviously I'm going to have to use more of the gravity of the different planets and try to like aim it just right. That didn't work at all. So this is a pretty advanced level, actually, so I'm not sure I'm going to be able to figure this out right away. If you go to some of the more basic levels, it takes a while. You can go to the new game. I'm not here to impress you. So this one's really easy. You can just sort of aim around that way, and you can see how it works. You get the idea right there. Skill launch, and you're trying to do it in the least amount of Rocketeers sent off to die in the cold, nightmarish depths of space as possible. There's kind of like a dark underside to the whole game, is that you're playing it, you're just blasting these guys out into space, and every time you miss, he's gone forever.
That's somehow significantly more sad than jumping on a Goomba or falling down a
Right,
pit,
yeah,
right?
there's actually like, it's kind of a downbeat sort of thing to happen.
See you later, John Glenn.
Yeah, right. You don't give them names. That'll be really grim.
From
but,
greatest American hero to lost in space.
Lost forever in the depths of space. But anyway, it's a very clever game. I like the little animation and the mix of 2D and 3D where it uses depth really well, and it's fun to look at. It's cartoonish, and I like that it takes a while to get the hang of it, but it isn't frustrating because there isn't this like go back to the beginning. As you can see, I could just keep firing guys out here until I get it right. I mean, I could just send them all to their death, and then there you go, I got it right. And then I go on to the next level. So there isn't that like Mario, I always mispronounce that. There isn't that Mario, you like get almost to the end of the level and then you die and then you go all the way back to the beginning. It doesn't have that frustration factor, which is really nice. It gets a little repetitive. That would be my only downside of the game, is after you've done like 8, 10 levels, it's like, okay, I get the idea, you're setting a slightly different path, but it's basically just swoop around the planets, avoid landmines or whatever they are, space mines, whatever they are in outer space. So that's about it. It does have 80 levels, though. So if you don't get too sick of it, there's a lot to play through. So for 99 cents, this is another one of those apps that's like, it almost demands you download it just because it's so cheap if you're looking for a new iPad game. Did you try a game this week?
I did. It is not a new game. It is a game that's been in the store for a while, but it's a recreation of a game I played a lot when I was in 7th or 8th grade. Right. It's the Worms series. It's the Worms game for iPad. I downloaded it because we had a LAN party here in the Mahalo offices, and
we did.
They were playing Worms on the Xbox, and I was like, that reminds me, I'm going to go play. To start things off, really recommended, especially if you were at all a fan of any of the games in the series. It's everything you've come to expect. There's sheep, there's ninja rope, there's holy hand grenades, and an assortment of weapons. In this particular case, it's 4-on-4. You can customize the team. There's multiplayer, there's single player. I'm doing a quick match right now. I am awful at it, worse than Lon is at other games.
Hey!
So let's see if I can hit this guy. No, I fail. It's basically, for those who aren't familiar, it's turn-based where you get a ton of weapons. You control a team of 4 little worms. You take turns controlling one worm, and you move around. You have 45 seconds to throw a weapon, throw a projectile, hit people with a hammer, do whatever you can to kill the other team's worms. And the team that has the last worm standing wins.
The last worm standing.
It's got, like I said, if you're a fan at all of the game, get it. I believe it was either $4.99 or $5.99. Really, really worth it. And if you're not, and you sort of like it's cartoonish, but the production value of it is really well done. The sounds are really well done. We don't have it mic'd here, but that's not going the way I thought it would go. Really fun. The only complaint I would have is the UI is, in terms of menu navigation, kind of hard to figure out. It took me a while to figure out how to rename my team. If you do quick match, you can't pick what team you did. I had a team made out for the This Weekend team, and I couldn't use it. It was exciting. I was going to get a knock your head around. But overall, recommended. Really fun game, and go for it.
Team Discovery Channel.
Yes.
Gonna be mine.
I actually think I had a team named that on Worms 2.
Adorable.
So.
What's the price on the Worms game?
It was either $4.99 or $5.99. I downloaded it 3 or 4 weeks ago, so I don't remember exactly. But it was something in that range.
We'll take a look.
Look at this. Look at this lawn.
It's a laptop. It's amazing.
The internet.
I don't know if you've heard about this.
You're the internet king.
$4.99.
There you go.
$4.99.
$5, multiplayer, single player.
There you have it.
Fun, cartoony game that you could. Some of the controls take a little bit of I got them right away because I played Worms 2, but then controlling a ninja rope, for instance, it's not the most intuitive thing. So they could do a little bit better job explaining what all the different weapons do.
That is part of the fun of Worms too, is because I've played the game before. You don't want to read the instruction manual; you just dive in and you figure it out as you go.
Right.
And the day of diligent playing, and you'll pick it up. I think. I mean, $4.99. It's such a good game. If it even close to mirrors what the PC version is like, it's worth it.
So there you go.
There you go.
Recommended.
All right. So before we move on and chat with Brett and Eileen, which I'm anxious to do.
I'm excited about this.
Yes.
We were talking about this earlier.
Ooh,
I threw my pen around.
One more thing I want to talk about first, and that is, of course, Hover.
I'm excited.
The great domain registrar, twi.hover.com. That is where to go. That will take you to our This Weekend page, which I'm looking at right there. And that's for anytime you need a domain, or you want to move your domain around, or you want to do anything with hosting. It's so easy to use. That's the real advantage. I don't want to give some ink to all these other domain registrars. There's one big one.
They have
that you
Super
always
Bowl
think
commercials,
of
maybe.
when you think of a domain registrar. And in fact, a lot of people, it's getting that like Xerox thing almost in the culture where it's become synonymous with buying a domain, is this other one we won't mention. But anyway, when you go there, it's so crowded. It's so packed with stuff, and there's 100 different checkboxes, and you have to pick just the right checkboxes for what you want. And then you always end up they're trying to package along 4 other services. Oh, you wanted 300 email addresses with that, I assume. And it's no, I didn't really want that. And all these other sort of protections. So it takes forever. It's just not intuitive at all. You can't find your way around. And even something simple like I bought lonharris.com, and then I have a Posterous blog, and I wanted to just forward it. And even that is 12 steps, and you got to reload, and you got to go back, and it's really confusing because they've taken up the whole site with race car drivers and sexy girls and ads, and this is just, Hover is the complete alternative to that. I mean, look at this page. It's just incredibly easy, incredibly straightforward. You type in the domain you want. I was saying Lon's iPad is one that I'm going to pick up. You click search, unless somebody already grabbed it from our audience there, that would be mean. They didn't. So then, and this is all you get. I mean, you literally, here's your shopping cart. Here's your options. You pick which one you want. I want Lon's iPad. You pick, do you want mailboxes? It's this little drop down. You hit add to cart, and there it is. It's added to my cart. I'm literally ready to check out. I mean, that's absolutely all I have to do. They've clearly taken sort of a nod from the iPad, from the Apple philosophy of just keep things clean, just keep things neat, just keep things intuitive and simple. And that's the best way to go about it. That's the best way to give people the sort of real service. And the best part about the whole thing, as you can see right there on the screen, get a 10% discount by going to twi.hover.com next time you need to buy a domain. The best thing I think maybe about the whole thing is they have their number, 1-866-731-6556. If you call that number, there's no wait system. There's no answering machine. It just rings and rings in their office until somebody picks it up. That's what they told me. So you can call it and test it out. They will actually answer the phone. They won't just let it ring off the hook. You can get an easy, quick answer. If you got a question, you got 5. Within 5 minutes, you'll have an answer, which is amazing. Yeah. The whole thing's done by 2 Cows, which is a really well-known company, been around in the internet since 1994. I mean, which is ridiculous. Longer than I've been on the internet. 2 Cows has been on the internet.
I was on the internet before you? I was in 94.
Before 94? I was definitely, 94 was probably the first year I was on the internet.
Yeah, 90.
How far back do you have to go before there's only 1 cow?
That was, yes, before 94. It was 1 Cows.
Yeah.
I literally back before I was on the internet. These guys
Yeah.
were on the internet selling domains. So, you know, a great company, a great service. twi.hover.com. Next time you need a domain.
Just a few. I buy a lot of domains in my
As
line
do
of work.
Hotchicksandkittens.com. Who's the owner? This guy.
I don't want to ask
I do.
the story.
I own that. That's true.
I believe you. I just don't want to know the story. Two quick things. Things I checked over. I'm like, okay, let's you know, see if they have things that I look for before I move any domains. Private registration is included in the price. It's not an extra, which is never the case, I think. And they have all advanced DNS. If you wanted to set up your own DNS servers, they have their own name servers. You can create your own A records, MX records, all of that there. So two things I cared about, they had them. That's why I'm that excited.
They know what they're doing. I mean, they're really trying to make, you know, they make the whole process really easy, intuitive, one stop, you know, one click. Just, you know, the way it actually ought to be.
Yeah.
Instead of all this like crazy noise going on. So anyway, twi.hover.com. Go check it out. Let's talk cases. So you guys, Brett and Eileen, you created the Rounsaville case. Give me a little taste of like, what is the Rounsaville case? What sets it apart from, say, like the Zugu or some other cases that we would probably seen out there in the wild?
Never even heard of those things.
What other cases?
What other cases?
Yeah.
So here's the full story, actually. My mom was running an upholstery business for about 27 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 27 years. And then one thing led to another, and she wasn't running an upholstery business anymore. So we were folding up shop, putting all of this fabric into this box truck. Literally, how big's a box truck?
16 feet.
16-foot box truck, 10 feet tall, fabric all the way inside. And we didn't want to throw all that stuff away. It'd be a shame. And it's awesome fabric, as you can tell.
Yeah.
So we decided to try and find something to do with all of this awesome fabric. I don't have the strap for any of these. Very bad planning. But this case, basically, it's pretty simple. The iPad goes into the pouch. It folds up. This is the strap that goes on all of them. The Amazo
right, I
strap.
see, yeah.
Like, so it keeps it shut, but more importantly, it does a lot of really cool things. There's a plastic core inside here that folds into place. Yeah, look at that. Pops right up. So then this thing, again, goes right here. You can see this is Max over here that's sitting up that I had my iPad on.
So they've all got names.
Yeah,
So
this
you
is
name
Max.
lots of people.
Yeah. So Max is, this is kind of my preferred position because it's the one that works best for typing. But this strap here lets you put it in literally like hundreds of positions. And this one's pretty new, so it's a little bit floppy. But it stands up. I watch Veronica Mars in bed on it every night.
It's a great show.
I type on it on my in my office. It does a lot of cool things. They all have really unique personalities. They're practically one of a kind. We literally put a one of a kind case on the site every Wednesday.
Wow.
Every Monday we have something new. This is Brian over here and Victoria. Go ahead, take a look, guys.
Oh, cool.
Again, I didn't bring the straps in for all of them, which is
They all come with their
down
own like strap.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
They lock into place, lots of different angles. So again, like this is kind of my default viewing position.
You could also do, you know,
That's how
like
you type.
that as well, I'm thinking.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's how I usually type on it. That's how it's
Right, yeah.
most stable.
Oh, I get it.
And then if you're looking for the whole upright thing, I usually put the strap on both of these
Oh, I
sections
get it.
here,
So you would
and
reverse
then it goes
that.
all the way up. Yeah.
Interesting.
So literally like 90 degrees to 0, even if you want a lower angle from this position.
Well, the kind of
Still
cool thing
going down
about it
here.
is, I mean, it's so obviously like homemade. You really feel
Yeah.
like you've
Yeah.
got something somebody put together. It's sturdy. It's not like these pre-pressed, you know, where
Yeah.
they're like little shells that just come out of the
Right.
machine, you know, 10,000 at a time. It feels like you're really holding something
Yeah.
in your hands. And I would imagine like how sturdy are they? Like if you drop your iPad, it's probably going to be all right in one of these things.
Probably, yeah. There's actually there's pretty thick
padded,
plastic
yeah.
on both sides, and it's padded.
Have you tested it? Were you bold?
I have not tested it.
Just like see how high you can drop it up. Be a good thing for the website. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
If you
They're
use
like
that, you can use
Blendtec.
that. You don't have to credit me. So how did you guys come to? Obviously, you had all this fabric left over. What made it click with the iPad? I mean, I wouldn't look at a truck full of fabric and be like, oh, iPad cases. Like, was there a moment that you were like, oh, that's what I could use this for? I mean, how did that decision sort of come about?
There was a moment where we were like, what are we going to do with all of these? I mean, some of them
Right.
are pretty small scraps of fabric.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do with these small scraps of fabric?
Sure, yeah.
And then that same night, when we were moving out the shop, we went and ate dinner at a Chinese food restaurant, and we made the first prototype out of 3 placemats and 2 straw wrappers. And the design hasn't changed significantly since then, but there have been some pretty big key changes that have happened. But I mean, I just love how unique they all are, how classy they are.
Yeah.
They're not the thing you're gonna find in the Apple Store that's all rubber that you.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. It's very like it's a sleeve, and I mean it keeps it safe, but it's sort of impersonal, and it has like this kind of one size fits all mentality where it's like it's just this thing, and it works the same way, and you can sit at. Jacob's got one on his iPad right now.
Gross. Better black.
Well, no, mine. Yeah, mine. All of these are they're sort of like pre-processed. Where these, it almost feels like there's someone like knitting you an iPad case somewhere in a room, like sipping tea and crocheting while watching like Coronation Street or something. I don't know.
There's always
in
one
my
for
head, that's how it is.
different personalities. And
I mean, depending on the fabric you use. I don't know why it's a British old lady, but it is. In my head, it's a real British lady.
The other really cool thing is like the case that we put up this Wednesday as the one-of-a-kind case, the fabric on it is like completely vintage. It's probably 50-year-old fabric that's come off of, that's being repurposed from some couch or dining room chair or something like that, literally. And then it has mohair on the other side. So like literally this case, the fabric on this case probably costs more than the iPad going in it. It's ridiculous how cool some of the fabrics we have going on are.
No, I mean it's authentic, like from the 70s or something. Somebody's mohair couch or whatever. Lives on.
The funny thing about the mohair one is it's mohair, right? So we couldn't even put padding inside of it because the mohair was so padded. It made it like 3 inches thick. If we put it
carrying around like an iPad pillow. Which they also have, which I've seen. So did you get to play around with the iPad like before you designed this? I mean, were you sort of working on spec, like imagining what the iPad would be like, or did you have one physically?
We physically had one that looked just like one. I made an iPad out of plywood and weighted it to spec. Wow. And that's what we used when we built the first prototypes. And then we tested it on some friends' iPads and stuff before we started. Before we knew that we could actually do what we said we were going to do.
It's a benefit of working with cases instead of like apps. You can't design an app on a plywood.
I just put out a press release yesterday that said something along the lines of, you don't have to be able to tell Pythons from Rubies to develop for the iPad.
Right, yes, you can just know your fabric and you're okay. What do you think is the secret to like a cool iPad case? We were looking last week at like, there's all these couture iPad cases now, like Chanel has their iPad case and what were some of the others? Oscar de la Renta had an iPad case. They're going for $1,500, $1,600. Is it just going to be a status symbol on that level, do you think, where people are going to start having their, like a handbag? Or do you think there's like something else that goes along with it as well, besides just how much you pay for it?
I think it'll definitely reach that point for a lot of people. I mean, it'll be just like handbags in a way, because there are plenty of people that are happy with the Target handbag or whatever. But some people just want something that fits their personality a little bit better or shows off who they are without having to scream who they are. Because that's awkward. I just saw the guy on the street corner doing that, and he did not look sane.
Santa Monica.
Yeah, we got those. We got a few of those.
It happens. So there's so many. I mean, there are a lot of iPad case options out there, and more every week. In fact, that's what we keep hearing from the viewers is, over and over again, like, tell us more about cases, pick out your favorite case. There are like 30, 40 different kinds of cases that are all kind of trending. And what are you guys thinking, like, what would be your pitch? Like, how are you sort of setting the Rounsaville case apart from all these other cases that, like the Velcro case and there's a pillow one that we were using, the wedge pad where you attach your iPad to a pillow. I mean, what's kind of the angle that you're trying to sort of stake out for yourself?
I would go right back to your first instinct on it, where, I mean, they aren't industrial at all. These things are handmade out of really cool salvaged fabrics. They, what were you gonna say something about them?
No,
I feel like I'm hogging the conversation.
No,
I'm sorry.
they're completely handmade and they fit different personalities.
It's actually a really fun website. It's Rounsaville.com.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up for the folks right now.
So each of the cases have their own very unique personality. So there's a product description for each case that calls the case out. That's Lucille. You can see on the screen there. That's
I saw Eileen. You named one. You named one for yourself.
One of them is Eileen. Eileen's one of the classier ones.
Right. Yes. Here's Eileen. How do you pick the names? Are they just friends, people in the family?
No, actually, it's just random.
Whatever the fabric looks like.
Yeah.
Oh, you look at the fabric and you think like this seems like a Donald.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how Max got his name.
Interesting. So what kind of fabric would the lawn case be?
The lawn case.
Tell me.
I think that's a question for Jacob for sure.
What kind of
Jacob.
Busy? I don't know.
Busy would have
Busy.
a
lot of things going on.
Oh, we might have a case just for you in the car then.
Oh wow! All right.
The lawn case is
You're
coming.
just trying to get me out there. Like, come look at the back of my van. I think I got the perfect round. just poke your head back there. So that's rounsa.com. I'll post it in the website too, so people can find it if they want to. And that's where you go. And every Wednesday you've got a different case up.
The hope is this week we've been just pounding them out one a day, and then the hope is that every Monday there'll be a new limited edition case where we'll have like between 5 to 15 of those or so.
Sure, yeah.
And then every Wednesday will be a one-of-a-kind case.
So give me a little idea, like what's your operation like? I mean, how many people work on this thing? Is it just the two of you? And how many of these, are you making? And
yeah, it's just the two of us right now. Yeah. So we basically make them to order. We'll make a Max. We'll take pictures of Max. We'll write a story about Max. We'll put it on the website, and then for every Max order that comes in, we make a Max.
All right. So they really are handmade. You're actually
Yeah.
In the chat room, they're saying you should make them for more than iPads. Any plans to do like iPhone, iPod cases?
Yeah, actually, that's hopefully that will be something we're moving into in October.
Oh, right on. So that's like a whole other set of plywood. You'll have to make.
I might have a little closer access to an iPhone.
Right.
But and then actually something we're also hoping to do is we're really big on this handmade stuff, and we love all of the artists on Etsy, but not so much Etsy. So we're kind of hoping to put other people's stuff on maybe like on Fridays. We'll put some other designs from other artists and stuff.
That's a great idea. The iPad version, the iPad case version of like its own Etsy.
Yeah, something like that.
I like that concept. What's your take on Etsy? Why are you not
it's just become a really crowded marketplace, I think, and it's one of those things where the reason we didn't go with Etsy is you can go on there and you can be in a crowded marketplace and you can build Etsy's brand, or you can build your own site and struggle a little bit more, but be building your brand for you.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, you're an iPad user. I see you got an iPad there. So definitely we'll have you, stick around for the rest of the show, chat about the news and stuff. But I asked this of everybody. What iPad 2 obviously coming, going to be up around the corner next few months. I'm thinking we'll get all the specs. What's the one thing you're really looking for in iPad 2? What don't you have yet that you want?
You know what? I'm a lot like most people where it's just kind of silly that I have to use a dongle to put a USB in this thing. A USB port would be really nice. Camera is kind of the obvious choice, but I think those are my big two.
That makes sense. What's your answer to that? I'm just curious.
Well, one, I don't think we're going to... I think we're going to get... I mean, we already are getting rumors. I don't think we're going to know until... We'll get...
The camera thing is definitely being rumored.
Yeah. It'll be December or January. I don't know. Just make it faster. I mean, not that it's not fast already, but I mean...
Faster is better?
I mean, they'll throw a camera on it. I'm my phone for anything I would need a camera for. Other than that, I think they're just going to throw a Retina display on it, which will be welcome. Most of what I want, though, comes with 4.2, I think. And then once we get multiprocessing, you might know some performance hits, in which case they'll up the memory, increase the display, and they'll probably throw in a couple things I can't even think of, because I'm not Steve Jobs.
Right.
You know who I'm not, Lon?
I was sort of waiting. You're not Steve Jobs.
Oh,
it's all right.
There he is.
There's evil Steve. So speaking of buying new products in the upcoming iPad 2, what are you going to do? I'm assuming you're going to get the iPad 2.
Yes.
What are you going to do with your iPad 1 once you're buying your iPad 2?
If only there was a service that would allow me to sell it back at an affordable price.
If only there was some site. Oh, wait. Gazelle.com.
Hooray!
There is. You can go to Gazelle.com. You trade in any of your old used electronics that you don't care about anymore, that you have stopped loving, and instead of just leaving them in a drawer,
I might still love my old iPad.
Instead of just sending them to the dump where they'll be with Woody and Buzz swirling around this huge lava pit, and all the kids are crying, like at the end of Toy Story 3.
Did you just rewatch it or something?
I didn't, but I just thought of how perfect an analogy. Gazelle really should do like an ad where there's like a bunch of old electronics and they're holding hands and crying as they're about
Brave
to
Little
be
Toaster, really.
sucked in. Was that what happened to Brave Little Toaster?
Sort of, yeah.
We're getting sidetracked. Anyway, it's sad to throw things away because it has an inner life. But with Gazelle, you can give it a second chance. You can get it back out there in the world. Someone else is going to love your old stuff. And instead of just having it take up a landfill or take up space in your closet, go to Gazelle.com and get cash back for it. And it's so easy to use, and they'll tell you exactly what they're going to give you before you make a deal. There's so many of these websites where you go in, it's like, we'll buy your old stuff, and you have to like agree to sell it, and then they tell you what they want to give you for it. Like all those like Travelocity sites, like, we'll agree to stay in the hotel, and then we'll give you the deal. Gazelle's not like that. They'll tell you right up front. So we'll put in, iPad. You're going to trade in your iPad Generation 1. And they'll tell you, exactly what you're going to get. You just, fill out a little questionnaire. It powers on successfully. Yes, it's free of water damage. I'd say it's in perfect condition. And you just click some of these boxes right here. I'm getting better at using this laptop. And, you just come over here, you click calculate, and it tells you exactly what they're going to give you. $368. My goodness. You're almost to your new iPad with that. I mean, what a steal. So the average customer makes more than $100 every time they Gazelle their gadgets. We do have a very special promo code for all of our This Week in iPad viewers. This Week in Network viewers, but This Week in iPad specifically, you will get a 5% bonus on anything you trade into Gazelle, on top of, whatever they're going to give you, plus 5%. All you have to do is use the promo code TWI5. So easy. Four things you have to type. Yeah. Even on an iPad, it's easy. TWI5. It works for everything other than movies or games. So you can't use it for media, but anything else, you just put in TWI5, you get 5% more. Please do that, not especially, 5%, but also so they know we sent you. Because they do me a personal favor. Make me look good in front of the Gazelle people. They call me on the phone and they tell me how many people are using the promo code. It makes me feel good when there's more people. You'd be doing me a personal solid.
You keep wanting to use the accent and then you keep not quite.
The Italian, do this thing. Do this thing for us. He's a friend of ours.
And Lon has ego issues.
You think about doing the Italian, but then when you try to do the Italian, it goes Russian. It
goes to Borat. Like, yes, he's nice. Yeah, it's all over the place. Anyway, 100,000 people have used Gazelle, more than that, to safely rid themselves of unwanted gadgets, and they've earned money by doing it. Gazelle.com, @Gazelle_com on Twitter. Go thank them. Go use the promo code TWI5. It's a great company. Every episode we talk about Gazelle, I get feedback from people who use it and love it. It's a great service. Everybody likes it. Okay, let's do some news. Woo! All right. So the first news item, there is a new Amazon Kindle ad. It takes direct fire at the iPad. It's the first time the Kindle's really come out and just been like, we're the anti-iPad device. It particularly goes after the glare issue and the price differential. We have it pulled up. Let's take a look at that.
Excuse me. How are you reading that in this light?
It's a Kindle. $139. I actually paid more for these sunglasses.
I don't know, she's very pleased with herself. I don't know if that's really, you don't want your spokesperson to be maybe that condescending.
Idiot.
Yeah,
Kindle.
It's like, geez, get a Kindle, dumbass.
I'm surprised there hasn't been like a viral video guy out there yet that hasn't made one that's like the guy and the girl sitting in the lobby of a hotel, and then the power goes out, and then the guy's still reading because he has an iPad, and the girl's like, how did you, I don't understand. And he's like, it's an iPad, sugar. I only paid $5.50 for it.
Well, you
paid more for your shoes, sucker.
You could do a lot of variations. He could be like playing a game and she's just reading, and then he's browsing the web and she's just reading, and he's watching a movie on Netflix. I mean, you could definitely you could definitely come up with the opposing viewpoint here. I don't know, the glare, how big of an issue is the glare issue really? Are you all the time trying to read on your iPad and you can't see?
There's something extreme. They're poolside, right?
They're poolside.
I'm not bringing my electronics poolside, especially my $500 iPad. I'm bringing a $5 paperback that I got at a used bookstore.
I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily true, but that's what the umbrellas are for. You go
for
sit in
stopping
a
the water when a kid comes. Never mind. Point being, I wouldn't find myself in that situation. I'm not outside that often.
Well, it does seem like a really specific situation to be appealing to.
I think the big point to me is that it's completely worth the trade-off. Like the one thing I love more than anything else about the iPad is not needing a book light at night in bed.
Yeah,
that is like
true.
Bar none my favorite thing about the iPad. And with a Kindle, no such light.
Yeah, you really need. You still do need the booklet. I don't know. It just seems to me like it's like when that overheating thing was going on. Like 1% of the time you're using your iPad, you're gonna be in like a hot direct sunlight and might be concerned about overheating. It just seems like it's an outlier. And to base your whole marketing campaign around, like, we don't have glare.
And they definitely sort of went with, I mean, they mentioned the price and they make that a point, but they're clearly focusing on the glare. And I think it's the price that they should go for. And I'm behind Mark Jeffrey's idea if they need to come away to say, if you buy the Kindle, we'll give you 20 books free and or...
Well, his is the reverse.
Right.
If you buy 20 books, we'll give you the Kindle.
Right. Either or, combine the two. And that's the way to end because there's an article, and I forget where I got it from, of a guy saying... Loves the iPad a lot. Kindle bookstore is better, and it's the best. And I think it's the bookstore they need to be hyping.
Yes. Well, that's
a really good point. Yeah.
And you have the Kindle bookstore on the iPad, and I agree, it is the best. So to move on, we've been talking about cases. We've got iPad case makers here, so I figured I'd talk about this. This is a great blog post I found, which is it's a graphic designer site, and it's an amazing collection of just fun iPad cases. So I thought we would go through them. I'll post the link in the chat room here so you guys can see it too. Lots of just fun ideas. I'm really starting to see this is really coming together as being this is a new trend. The fancy couture, interesting, unique handmade iPad case. So here there's a corduroy. They took a pair of pants and made one. Here is a iPad penguin sleeve. You've got a leather case. Here's what is that one? A water-resistant padded case with Americana.
There's my lawn. That's what
This is the lawn. The lynx fur. Oh, the cheeseburger.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, thanks. I
didn't even notice that. I said it was busy. I said it was busy.
You like to eat cheeseburger case. That's the lawn. That's the overstuffed pillow one. That would be the lawn. The one with the padding coming out everywhere. Bulbous, hard to set down. So anyway, it's just a cool blog post. And I'm seeing these every week now. It's like the new case mod. You remember there always used to be those 20 awesome Mac case mods. This is the new version of that, I think, is making nerdy, highly referential, interesting iPad cases. So I just thought I would share. One more video I want to show. This is about iPad light painting. I teased it at the beginning of the show here. A firm called Dentsu London has used the iPad to create a series of stop-motion shots assembled from sequential long-exposure light paintings. So there's a little bit at the opening of the video that shows how they did it, and then we'll see a little bit of what they actually did and how it works. Pretty incredible effects, I think, actually. So let's roll that as well.
And so we developed a technique using an iPad to light paint single photos, which we then build up to form stock frame animations. We develop 3D models in software as part of animations, 3D animations. And for each of the frames inside the 3D animation.
So that's a little behind the scenes of how they did it. I think we have a bit of the video as well where they show the actual animation. Do we have that back there? Here we go. So we were just talking here in the studio about how this was done, because it's not immediately obvious when you're watching it what they're doing. They basically create a set of 3D graphics, and then they program the iPad to show a cross-section of the graphic, and then they go frame by frame. So you're watching a little sliver of the graphic, and then it all seems to come together in real life when you put it together via stop motion animation. They shoot them with long exposure photographs and put them together to do it like stop motion. So it's pretty impressive. I don't think this necessarily has a larger. I always try to make it like, well, let's look. What does this say about the future of the iPad? And I think this just kind of looks cool. It's just an interesting art project somebody did with the iPad.
I think if there's any sort of longer implications, it just gives another thing for certain people who wear black turtlenecks. I don't know. Steve Jobs? Oh, that's too. Oh,
they
delay.
got there. They got there. There's a little, Steve Jobs, he's very busy. He can't pop up just at any moment.
I guess. But point being, he likes, showing off. Like, he likes being a little smug. He likes being like the Kindle pitch lady on stage to say, look what someone neat did with an iPad. So gives him another thing to talk about.
He should get some sunglasses and you'll pay even less than my sunglasses. Take them off David Caruso style. That'd be a good move. That'd be a good move for Jobs. I do think it's interesting. Like, you can see what a cultural force the iPad is sort of becoming. So many artists and creative people are using it now, trying to come up with fun applications. It doesn't always work great. But, you can definitely see how big an impact it is just having on the culture day to day. People are trying to do so many different interesting things. Or even, in this case of creating, like, some sort of handmade arts and crafts around the iPad experience. Yeah. Interesting. Definitely within a year. It's hard to believe it hasn't even been available for a year yet. And there's already so much has cropped up around it. It has been
I'm trying to think if it's even been 6 months.
It's been a little over 6 months, I think. Yeah. At 24 episodes of This Week in iPads worth. So to move on, a couple more stories we got to touch on. We are running short on time. According to the San Jose Mercury News, Apple is considering a deal with major metropolitan newspapers to create a business model for subscriptions on the iPad. We've obviously been talking about this for a while, and is this coming? Thus far, newspapers and magazines have had to work around Apple's restrictions in order to sell their content. So they submit it as an app, and then every time a new edition comes out, you basically have to pay for the new edition. That's how Wired is doing it, for example. So you download the Wired app. The app itself is free, and then every time there's a new issue and you open it, it's a little like, hey, you want to pay $4 and get this new issue? So the issue in the past has largely been with how the payments are handled. Apple takes a huge chunk of the revenue, and when the subscriber data goes out, it goes to Apple, not to the newspapers, and they want to have their own information about their own subscribers. So this deal may be in the works. It looks like Apple wants 30% of subscription revenue sold through the iTunes Store and 40% of all the ad revenue generated through the apps. Wow. Publishers not crazy about it. They're looking for maybe a flat fee or something else that they could do about that. Do you guys have any thoughts on who basically is going to win this battle? It seems like Jobs kind of has the publishers over a barrel. Like, he knows this is where people want to read their content. So what is what can they come back with in this negotiation?
I think they'll get. I've always said this. I think the negotiations will resemble the music, in that Jobs will sort of half cave, like he gave him DRM for a little bit, and then once people start using it and subscribe to it, he'll sort of hold it higher and higher and higher until they sort of have to cave on everything he wants. And I'm beginning to wonder if the iPad conference or announcement in January will be much more about announcing things like this as opposed to the hardware, because I'm sure the hardware will be a bit of it, but I don't know what they can do other than doing what they already did with the iPhone 4, making it slicker, making it faster, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what they might do as and now for something completely different, or one more thing. I had to get a Monty Python in there. The one more thing is more, boom, we have these deals with textbook makers. We have this deal with newspapers, and just sort of overloading it in content.
It's interesting that it's happening now, because this is kind of the thing that everyone assumed was going to launch with the iPad, as far as rumors go and everything. And it almost feels like he knew that it would be such a hit that he'd have so much more leverage if he just pushed back all of these dealings.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it seems like at this point they need him more than he needs them. It's that classic situation of they're just reliant on Apple to push their product. I mean, you could walk down the street.
A Titan fighting villagers with pitchforks. They don't have any weapons at their disposal anymore.
I could walk to the nearest newsstand, which is probably 8 miles away here in LA, and buy a magazine, or I can hit this button on my iPad and get their content.
The best they could do is pull a nail out of their own coffin to fight with. That's like all they've got.
Yeah, basically. So an interesting side note to this, Conde Nast UK is their managing director gave a speech. Nicholas Coleridge is his name. He predicted 40% of Conde Nast total sales will soon come from iPad apps and similar devices. So this is where it's sort of moving. I think even the industry now recognizes that. He told a collection of executives, journalists, agencies, advertisers, the company's going to launch UK versions of Wired and Vogue soon. And then he's saying about 15 years from now, nearly half of all the consumers that they have are going to just want to buy their magazines this way.
I think it's gonna be. Wouldn't it be more? You think? Maybe
Well, that's
not.
what he's.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be inclined to be pretty conservative about it. I would say, I would think probably more like 70, 80.
Yeah. Especially since it's like devices, and in 15 years, you would think that a large majority of any sort of media gets consumed that way. So.
Yeah. In the chat room, Miguel is saying Android usage is going to surpass iOS usage in the near future, and that all these publishers are going to need to go with multiple sales channels, not just Apple. Which I do think, like, I know you're skeptical of that. I do think that makes sense on a level. Like, there may very well one day be multiple different tablets, computers, systems that publishers are going to have to go through. It's not all going to be owned by Mr. Jobs forever, but unless he has his way about it. But I think the overall idea is the publishers don't have the kind of weight to throw around that the makers of these systems do for distribution. That's where the people are.
Granted, true, but I think maybe by the time that happens, and maybe not the market share, because I think you have to look at, like, when you look at Android market share numbers, it's including a bunch of like Android 1.0, Android 2.0 devices that can't go to Froyo, things that maybe shouldn't be counted. And if it happens so much later down the line, who cares? The devices might have completely changed. There might be, technology has such a short shelf life that it might not even be worth debating. In the near future, they're going to have to go through Apple. It doesn't really, innovation aside, Amazon has had their music download service for a while now, and if you look at record store companies of how much of their sales goes through iTunes, not just digital, just iTunes, it's sort of staggering. So Apple has an extreme advantage, and I know, people, the sky is falling, it's going to go away. I'll believe it when I see it.
All right. One more news story before we wrap up here. Twitter unveiled its massive site redesign this week, and the result looks exactly like their iPad client.
That was my first impression, exactly.
Yeah, you look at it.
I'm done with this little news brief.
Yeah, it's Twitter for iPad for desktop now. Yeah. So I've got it here on my screen. I, unfortunately, have not been invited to the new Twitter yet, so I can't show you, but here is a shot from Wired. It's the exact same sort of sidebar column conceit or sort of principle, just basically expanded for the desktop. Images, links, conversation tags all appear in that separate window that pops over on the side. So it's a very similar concept to the way their iPad app works. Do you think this is going to be a trend, or are desktop regular websites going to start looking more like iPad apps? Is that the way things are going? Is the design on iPad really superior in some way that we're going to see a lot of other sites adopt this philosophy? Or is this just, Twitter happened to buy this other company?
I don't think it's... Clearly, some of the things in the Twitter app sort of are informed by the fact that it's an iPad, but I think just the base view of what you see on the website is just good design. Mm-hmm. And I think when they started making both, they said, Lauren, here's, the design, go for it, make an app that's based on this, and he was just the first one to get it done. So I don't necessarily know that it's like, I think they came up with the design first and gave it to both, and then they made it. It's not like they were getting it from the iPad. So I think we're definitely going to hit a form where websites are more informed by the fact that they are being viewed by devices that aren't computers, and rely less on hovers, things that aren't as easy to do on an iPad, much more on touch and sort of active switching. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, that is our show. Thank you so much to Brett and Eileen Rounsaville, the Rounsa, ROUNSA.com. We'll put it on the blog so people can find it when they come check out the show. That's where to go to grab these amazing cases. They're really cool. Like, they really are. It's like a homemade thing. Like, you have it in your house, and it's going to be a conversation starter. People are going to look at this and be like, "What is this thing?" And you're like, "Well, that is Victoria. Let me tell you, she has a whole backstory." And it's I kind of like this handcrafted iPad thing. It's a meeting of the latest technology, and then you still have this sort of arts and crafts vibe to it. Hipsters, I think, are going to love these. You guys, when you open your store, Silver Lake. Silver Lake for the iPad case store. Trust me on that one. So next week we have Cyril Moutran. I'm probably getting that wrong. He is the co-founder of the company. They make the Friendly Facebook app, so definitely tune in for that. We're going to chat with him about Facebook for the iPad. Basically, why doesn't Facebook have its own app? What he did to sort of solve that problem. Next week we're also going to do a new Planet of the Apps where we're going to review task management, productivity apps.
Thanes is definitely going to be covered. I will probably get Omni in there.
Brainstorm we could use for that one. We had them as guests, but I won't let
we covered Evernote, but we might be able to bring Brocco in and have him tell us why Evernote is so wonderful. But if you have any ideas,
let us know. At Lons, at Jacob Birch, lon@thisweekend.com. Let us know. One other thing I want feedback on, if you feel like emailing us or tweeting us, we have this meetup.com. We're doing the startup meetups through them. We tried to do an iPad meetup when the show was still pretty new. Didn't really get off the ground. I mean, we did the show, but we didn't have a ton of participation. I would think we should do it again. But
I'm in.
We're in. We'll do a live meetup show and have other iPad meetups call in if you guys want to do it. So let us know if you're around, where your city is, and if you'd want to call in and do a live global iPad meetup. We can get that together. My thanks, as always, to Press Reader, to Hover, twi.hover.com. Go check it out. And to Gazelle, gazelle.com is their website. Go check them out as well. Thanks to the Rounsavilles. Thanks to Jacob Birch. And thank you to you, Internet, for watching our show. We'll see you next week on This Week in Twitter. In the iPad!